So good morning, my friends.
Good morning.
We're going to go through a series today. Well, first of all, welcome to Gentle. I'm Catherine, and I'll kind of guide you through practice. I'm really glad to be here. We're going to go through a very long traditional series. It's been used for almost 1,000 years, called the Pawanmuktsana series. It's just wind relieving. So we're going to think about moving through the joints to create more energy through the body. I always think of it like, and I know I use this analogy in yin class a lot, but if you think about a water hose, when you're drinking outside, you're drinking at the water hose and you're holding it and all the water's spurting out. I grew up with brothers, so inevitably they would bend the water hose and stop the flow. And then I'd be like, what happened? What happened? Everything's stuck. And then they would undo it and it would splurt everywhere. And so that's the movements today are very simple, nothing strenuous. We're going to stay on the mat, but we're thinking about clearing out the energy and the wind within the body. I have a blanket that I'm sitting on. I just like it. I'm going to actually fold it up. So I took it off of the shelf and I'm just going to fold it again. Blankets are always optional. There's there's an ease in sitting on a blanket, but it's not required. And then we'll start in our base pose. So legs are extended and they're somewhat closer together than usual. We think about keeping the spine lifted. We want to engage some of the abdomen to hold us upright. Sometimes this can be a very exhausting pose. I know for me, I'm already tired. It's only been like 2 seconds. So if you want to take the hands behind you and kind of lean, maybe about 20-30% of the body weight into the hands, that's totally fine. And then we'll just take a moment. And if it's comfortable, if it's accessible, close the eyes. And if it's not, just glance down toward the toes. Let that gaze be somewhat soft. And take a moment to scan through the physical body, to notice where you have ease through the joints. Notice if there's any parts throughout the body that just feel tight and constricted. Can you identify whether those are muscular or actually in the joint structure? And then shift the awareness to the breath. For class today, we'll use a slow and steady rhythm of breath. So notice first how your breath is flowing. Notice if there's any catches. Can you smooth it out a bit? Doesn't matter how long the breath is. Doesn't even matter where the breath originates from. Just recognize your breath. Doing so brings us into this moment. For the hour that we have together, we're just going to focus on the breath and the joints. Take a little bit of the time to focus on the digestive system also. But we can let everything that came before class, just set it aside. It'll be there after class. And everything that comes after class, it's in the future. Keeping that thought on the breath draws us here into this present moment. And when you're ready to move, just let her open the eyes. I'm going to lift my torso up again, and I'll just kind of fluctuate back and lifting based on how I feel in my abdomen. I encourage you to do the same. We'll bring our gaze to our toes and make a fist with the toes. And then extend and stretch through the toes. Perfect. That's the movement. We'll take about 4 little rounds in each one. If you breathe fast, it might be 5. And then point the toes away from the body and draw them closer to you. Maybe your inhale points away and your exhale draws the toes closer. And when you finish those 4 or 5 rounds, pause and just notice if you can feel a vibration or a sensation through the toes or the ankles. I know today I actually flipped my thigh muscles, which kind of informs me that my joints are feeling a little weak today and my strong muscles are trying to take over. And then we'll separate the feet just enough. We'll keep the heels rooted on the ground and start to rotate the ankles. I'll take about 4, 5, your choice in both directions. Notice any pops, snaggles, snaps, crackles. And then release. We'll draw that right knee in toward the chest. Cross the leg over your left. I'm not going to mirror you today. I'm actually using my right. I want my ankle to dangle off the other side if accessible. I like to interweave my fingers between the toes, just kind of focusing on the space there. If that freaks you out, don't do it. If you're not interweaving, just hold on to the foot and we're going to start to circle the ankle. It's called an ankle crank. I think about that ice cream scooper. If any of y'all ever had those old-fashioned ice cream scoopers where you have to crank it. My job was always to sit on the top. Like I was the youngest, so your butt gets frozen to the top. That's what my siblings would say. And then take those cranks in the opposite direction. And pause for a moment. If you're holding on to the foot or if your fingers are in between the toes, give a little, just a gentle pressure. Hold that pressure there. And then release. Notice the feelings, the sensations. I'm going to pause there for a minute, just for observance. And then we'll use our right hand to slightly press the right knee down and then let it kind of rebound up. Press and rebound. Press and rebound. One more, please. And then lean back, extend the leg, pause for a moment. Take it to the other side. Again, the ankles dangles off the thigh. If you like that interweaving, take a moment to interweave. For me, it's a lot of moments. My toes aren't straight, so I got to thread them in there. We're all going to take those cranks in both directions. About 4. I encourage you to go much slower than you think you need to. There's something about that awareness when we go slowly. Perhaps even keeping the gaze toward that ankle. And then when you finish up your circles, that nice little just pressure, that teeny tiny amount of pressure wherever you're holding. And then this release. I'm the only one that makes sounds. I'm all like, ooh, wow. That little left knee, we're going to press it down toward the mat and bounce it back up. And then release the leg. Take a pause there, noticing and feeling. I'm going to take my hands like a little C and I'm going to put the thumb on the inside of my kneecap and my 4 fingers are going to rest on the outside of the kneecap. I'm going to do one knee at a time just because I find it really challenging to focus on both. I'm going to look at the knees and imagine and see if I can actually lift my kneecap toward my body and then let it go. And begin to notice if you feel the thigh engaged underneath. Can you do it without engaging the thigh? And then take that little movement, that little C cup to the other side. If you're doing both knees at the same time, you just got 8 reps, no worries. This exploration. Can I draw that kneecap toward my torso? Perfect. And then we release. That's often the hardest part of this series, having that kneecap shift towards you. A lot of people aren't aware of it. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. So if at any point you're like, I have no idea if I did that right, you probably did. We're gonna lean back a little bit, interlace your fingers behind the right leg. I like to lean back, make room for the panza, hover the foot, knee extensions. We lift and extend, and then we lower down. Inhaling as we lift, exhaling as we bend. Really creating movement that is spurned by breath. Perfect. We're going to pause with the knee bent, stay hovering. And then imagine that heel or the big toe making a little oval. We'll circle the shin and the calf muscle. I've been practicing this for a while. This is October 22nd. Been doing it every day since December of 2019. Take those circles in the other direction. And there are some days where I can feel the circling without noticing the hip and thigh moving. And some days I'm like, oh, I'm all over the place. We're thinking about control and integrity. And then pause. We're going to take that knee out to the side, reach for the foot, and then just sway the right leg side to side. As you finish up your fourth or fifth round, extend the leg nice and long and pause. Noticing, feeling, if you feel any different sensation along the leg, maybe you feel it somewhere else, maybe it's in the emotions and you're like, this is so slow, stick with it. We're going to interlace our fingers behind the left leg. Again, I like to lean back. I think it's more of a balancing. And the inhalation extends, the exhalation bends. And as you're ready, those little ovals with the foot. There's no rush whatsoever. You can go with me, go faster than me, go slower than me. I do ask that you take the rotations in both directions. When you finish up the rotations, we're going to reach for that foot, take the knee out to the side, and just kind of rock. In the Hatha Yoga lineage, we call it cradle. So we're rocking the little baby like a cradle. And then we release. We extend the legs long on the mat and we pause to notice. Maybe one side feels different than the other. Maybe they feel the same. We're going to bend both knees out to the side. Soles of the feet come together. A little Baddha Konasana. Heels can be any distance to the groin, whatever you feel comfortable with. And we're just going to play here before we get into a little fluttering of the wings. I want you to think about rolling the heels, the soles of the feet up to the ceiling. And then pressing the soles of the feet together. A lot of teachers will say it kind of looks like you're opening a book. Many people are like, I can only open the first page. That's totally fine. Press the soles of the feet together. Press the big toe mounds together, the inner heel together. And then hold on, whether you can find your feet or your ankles or your shins, and flutter the knees. I want you to go so fast. Go faster than you think you can go. Don't worry about the space of the movement. Just flutter, flutter, flutter. And then slow down the movement. Go as slowly as you can, lifting the knees as high as you can. Keep the big toe mounds pressed together. So there's activity through the arch of the foot. We're activating muscles along the inner legs. Should we be pushing down? So for this purpose, we're just, that's a really good question. For this one, I am actually pressing, like I'm squeezing the glutes as my knees lift, and then I'm engaging my knees as they lower. So there's definitely a little push and pull. Perfect. When you feel complete with that, extend the legs out again. Pause in your base pose. Time to observe, to notice any shifts physically within the body. Perfect. For the next little series, we're going to move in through the upper body. Your legs are your choice. For me, this particular pose is so uncomfortable. It takes so much effort. So I actually like to sit crisscross applesauce, but it's optional how you sit. Sometimes I'll even sit on my shins if that feels good to you. I'm going to take a moment. Once you come into that seat, lengthen up through the spine. Lift the ribs from the waist. Roll the shoulders around and down the back. Ears go over your shoulders. Take a moment there to pause. Keep this strength through the torso. And begin to rub your hands together vigorously. This is actually the beginning of series number 3, but we're going to take it here. We want to generate a little bit of warmth. And then rest those warm palms over the eyes, maybe over the forehead. You might feel it along the cheeks. If this is uncomfortable, you can always kind of cup the hand so there's a space to look through. We're going to imagine the eyes within the sockets here. Lift them up toward the ceiling, whether eyelids are closed or open. Take them over to the side and roll them down and around. So creating these little circles with our eyes underneath the warmth of our palms. We'll take those circles in the opposite direction. Perfect. When you finish up those 4 circles, rub the hands back together again vigorously. This time we're going to use our hands as if they were a washcloth. Just rub let the warmth spread from the forehead and the eyes, down the cheeks, down the jaw. Imagine that warmth softening all that tension we hold. If you're a teeth clencher. Oh. And then rest the hands comfortably in the lap. We'll start with our chin. We'll bring our awareness in there, dip it down toward the chest. We're going to slide it along the collarbone toward one shoulder. And then dip it down again toward the other shoulder. Again, let the breath propel the movement in your neck. Noticing how this feels. When you feel as if you've gone an equal number of times to both sides, return to center, lift the chin. We'll take our ear. I'm going to start on my left, but you can do either side, dip it down to the shoulder. And then the crown of the head is going to make a little rainbow overhead. Take the opposite ear, opposite shoulder. Very simple movement. One of the things I love about this series is that we can often do it behind a desk while we're at work. Do it while we're watching TV. There's several shapes you can do just lying in bed. And the more we move through the joints, the stronger the rest of the body becomes. The more balanced we feel on our feet. Lift the crown of the head back up to the ceiling. Now we're just going to turn the head, shake it to one shoulder, like we're saying no, not that. Just shifting it back and forth. Come back through center. Just notice, check in how the neck is feeling. If there's any tension there or tightness there that makes you uncomfortable, then you can pause in stillness, stay in the observation. We're going to move into full circles. And sometimes this is really uncomfortable. So if it becomes not safe in your neck, in your body, then take any neck stretch that suits you. I'm going to bring my awareness to the tip of my nose and imagine that nose as a pencil as I tilt it up toward the ceiling and then over to one side and down and around. The size of your circle, it's going to suit you. There's an individual. There's this space where yoga allows you to move into your individual pace. So letting go of what the person next to you is doing, letting go of what you think you should be doing, and just enjoying that movement through the neck. And again, take the circles. If you're moving in circles, take them in both directions. And then pause, bring the gaze forward again. Take a little loop of the shoulders up, around, and down the back. And then we're going to move through the spine here. We're just going to take some little rolls here, rolling the chest forward and back. Almost as if you were a little topped there, spinning along the tailbone. Again, pause, reverse the directions. And come back through center. In studio here, most of us are cross-legged. So us who are cross-legged, we're going to change out the leg that's on top or in front. If you chose a different variation, I'm going to encourage you, just change your legs to a different variation, however it works for you. Perfect. Bringing our awareness to the shoulders, we're going to extend both arms out in front of us. And we're actually going to draw the shoulders back. And then gaze at your fingertips, wiggle them around like you're playing a piano. Forgot my little bridge there. I was all like, and I'm like, oh, piano, I gotta make a bridge. Let's draw the fingers in and make a little fist, and then extend, stretch them out. Use the exhale to curl in. Inhale to extend. Last one. We're going to meet with a fist. Perfect. And then allow the wrists to circle. Again, that invitation to move slower than you think you want to is always there. Take the circles in both directions. And if you move faster today, no worries. Just means you get a few more reps than the rest of us. And then pause, let the hands come down to the lap and notice the shoulders. For me, just lifting my arms up, I get tired. Maybe you feel the same thing. Okay, good. I've got some nods here. So I'm like, yeah, perfect. We're going to stretch the arms out in front of us again. We're going to draw the shoulders back, almost as if you could squeeze the shoulder blades together. Palms up to the ceiling this time. Fingers close together. Even your thumbs come in close. In the elbow, tap the shoulders. Use that inhalation to open and extend, and then exhale to bend. We'll meet with the elbows bent, fingertips to the shoulders. We're going to take some circles here. Bring the elbows in as close together as they can go. And then open them out to the side, just to the side. Lift them up. So huge circles on the front side of the body. I'm going to take one more and then change directions. All day right here. The next time the elbows open wide, stay there for me. So we're going to meet. Perfect. I want you to think about making circles through the back side of the body. So draw the elbows back behind you. They're not going to go very far. Lift the elbows behind you. Lift them up to the sky. Try to keep them on the back side of the body. Take a few rounds. This one's so much more challenging to stay on the back plane of the body. So just notice. Let go of any of those I shoulds, I coulds, I woulds, and just be here in the moment. Take those circles in the opposite direction. If you read a lot, if you're over the computer a lot, I tend to cook a lot, so this is a great little counter stretch, strengthening for the body. And then when you feel complete with that, again, rest the hands down on the lap. And just notice. Always give yourself permission, if it's accessible, to close the eyes and just feel what's going on inside. Can you imagine the way the blood flows, the fluid flows? Can you imagine the muscles engaging and releasing? You feel that energy, that strength that lies within you. We'll come back to the elbow joint real quick. Lift one arm, and I'm going to hold it with my opposite arm. So I'm lifting my right arm and extending it out. I'm going to squeeze that left arm in as close to my body as possible. This time we're going to take our fingers spread apart. And we're going to make those circles, very much like what we did with our knees. So just swing the hand around, see if you can brush them against the forehead, extending, circling. We'll take those in both directions. And then when you're ready to go to the other side, extend the opposite arm, hold on to it, really press that thin elbow against the chest for stability, and circle through the elbow. Again, changing directions as you're ready. Perfect, and release. Pause for a moment, notice the sensations along the elbows, just feel. We're all going to take a little twist. Right hand slides across to the left leg, left hand comes behind, and we're just going to pulse. So think about shifting forward a little bit, and then using the hands to kind of glide the body into a deeper twist. Take about 4 pulses. And then make your way to the other side. Perfect. When you feel complete with that, release, stretch the legs out, maybe give them a little shake. We're going to make our way onto our backs. So our base pose on our back is spine against the mat, skull against the mat, soles of the feet against the mat. So that's our base pose. Just take a moment there and we feel and we notice. Let's extend our right leg up into the sky. Your left leg can stay bent or it can stretch long on the mat, whatever feels better for your low back. We're going to point the right toes and then just flex the foot. Get a couple of those little ankle points and flex here. Perfect. Then I like to take my arms out to the side, palms down to the mat. It offers a little bit of stability there, strength building. We'll think about moving through the hip joint. We're just going to lower that right leg down toward the ground and then lift the leg back up. Try to go lift slower than you want to as you extend and lower and reach to lift. If you want a little extra core activity here, hover the leg over the mat. Don't let it tap down. Sometimes we need that activity, sometimes we don't. And then we pause. We draw that right leg back up into the sky. Perfect. We'll start to circle the right leg. Take it out to the side, bring it around along the mat, lift it up to the sky. Really large circles here. You're just exploring what your range of motion is. I'm going to use my hands to keep my body from twisting. I'm going to press my bum into the ground to keep from lifting and rolling. And then take those 4 circles in the opposite direction. When we feel that abdominal engagement, that's what we're tapping into. Movement through the hip, but really active through the abdomen. When you finish up those circles, just set the right foot on the floor, return to base pose, and notice. There might be this sense of alertness. Maybe there's a little burning, a little warmth, a fire inside the hip and belly. And then we extend the left leg up to the ceiling. Take 2 points and flex there. And then single leg lifts. The leg lowers and the leg lifts. One of the benefits of going so slowly is we start to notice the way our body works. If at any time that becomes overwhelming or frightening, just let go of that and just feel the body move. Make your way into those full circles. Keep the bum cheeks on the ground. Keep the back nice and still. Doesn't matter if the circle is so big, doesn't matter if the circle is as small as a dinner plate. Think about integrity and control of the circle instead of size. Know that as you finish up those circles, we return to the base pose. I usually like to pause here and stretch my arms overhead away from my body. If you like to extend the legs long, you can do that too. Full body stretch, this opportunity to reset. Perfect. Keep the legs nice and long on the mat unless, again, it's uncomfortable in the spine. We're going to draw that right knee in toward the chest, and we're going to interlace our fingers around the shin or the thigh, your choice. I'm just going to take a couple of breaths here. Now I want you to notice how the body moves as you breathe. I know for me, as I inhale, my belly and my chest press the thigh away. And as I exhale, my hands become a little bit more active. It draws the knee into my chest. So even in the stillness of the hold, there is movement. The next time you exhale and that knee comes in, lift the head, lift the shoulders, and stay. Let 4 breaths come through this pose. Sometimes I like to think about lifting my shoulder blades up from the mat, super challenging, and then release as you lower. Release the right leg long, take the spine and the head back to the mat, take a pause. And then as you're ready, we move to the other side. We draw that left leg in close. We find our hands supporting the leg and we just connect again to the breath. Just feeling and noticing the way your body moves as you breathe. The next time you draw the knee in, peel the body up from the mat, take 4 breaths. So the muscles are still, the body is still, but we are active. And then we lower down. We stretch everything out nice and long. Right leg lifts, we draw it in toward the body, find the hands around it. As you exhale, lift the chest, breathe there. Use your next inhalation to lower the head down, keep the leg drawn in. As you exhale, curl up again. Think about lifting through the chest rather than the neck. So soften through the neck. And breathe. Lower down. We've got 1 more set. Lift up and breathe. Lower as you're ready. Take that full body stretch. Reach the feet and fingers in opposite directions. Maybe even wiggle through the jaw a little bit. Maybe part the lips and just kind of move it side to side. And then as you're ready, we've got those 3 on the left side. So draw the left leg in. As you exhale, lift up and breathe. Use the inhale to lower. Exhale to lift again. And breathe. I'm going to move through 1 more set. Always know that it's optional. You can do less than 4. In the actual series itself, they recommend 8 to 10, but for the sake of time, we're just staying with the 4. Know that as you finish, find that full body stretch once more.
And that one.
Say,
Are we pulling with our abs or mostly pulling with our arms?
I find that when I first started, I was using my arms to hold my legs in. But then the more I did it, the more I'm able to use the control and strength of my abdomen to keep it in nice and close.
What about your body though?
Your body up when we lift up.
So when I lift up, and let's just all do that here. So lying with the legs nice and long, I'm going to take my hands, I'm going to place them on the bottom of my ribs. So my thumbs and my forefingers are touching my ribs. My other fingers are touching the space of my belly. They're kind of spread out. And then I want you to take an inhale. As you exhale, we propel the air out and we lift the chest. Do you feel the muscles engage underneath? And then lower back down. So we'll take that again just for that observation, just for that experiment. Can you feel the muscles engage underneath the fingers? And then lower back down. And then pause for a moment and think of, I always think of that really sexy beach volleyball player. And they have the six-pack. That's my visual. Sorry if that offends anybody. Well, our hands right there, they're under the first two parts of the six-pack. If we were to lower our hands below the belly button, so the thumbs are above the belly button and the fingers are below, your abdomen is actually a set of 8 muscles. We typically only see the 6 in definition, but there's actually 8 there. So take that same movement, that exhaling and that curling up, and see if you can feel the muscles under your abdomen engage, and then lower it back down. And again, just experimenting, just noticing, lifting and lowering. And then take a long rest here, a little mini shavasana. That's a lot of information, a lot of anatomy, a lot of movement. It's not something you have to know right away, but it's just this space to explore how your body responds, how your body reacts. And then we'll take the arms out again. And I like palms down, but if that's uncomfortable for you, just take them out a comfortable distance, let them rest. We're going to draw the right leg in toward the chest. As you extend the right leg up to the sky, draw the left knee into the chest. Lower the right leg as the left leg extends. Here's that cycling motion. That's what we're doing. Essentially taking a really exaggerated ride on our bicycles. The slower and wider the movement, the more you tap into all those muscles along the front side of the abdomen. I always tend to take a little bit more than 4 here. So know as you're ready, brain work comes in, we change the direction. We try to reverse our legs as if we could reverse our bicycle. This is the one where as I extend and hover the leg over the mat, I really feel the muscles that would make up that 8-pack if I had some definition. And then lower the legs down and pause. Return to that base pose, take a couple of breaths. Did that make sense? Did you feel the difference between the abdomens? Perfect. Let's hug both knees in toward the chest. You can hold on if you'd like, or let the arms go, your choice. We're just gonna roll side to side on the back. Give your back a little massage. Keep the knees drawn in, but take the arms out wide and let that rolling be a little bit more. So maybe you take your legs all the way over to one side into a twist. Use the abdomen to lift, lower the knees down to the other side for that twist. Coming back into that awareness of breath. Let the breath create the movement. I'm going to take one more. And then I'll pause. Feet come down to the floor. We just notice. And a full body stretch here. Reach the arms overhead, feet away. Lots of pauses. And then circle the arms around and draw the right knee into the chest. And I'm going to hold on to the right knee with my left hand. My right arm is going to come out to the side for a little bit of balance. We're going to guide that knee across the body into a supine twist. I encourage you to keep the shoulders heavy to the mat. We're going to linger here in our breath. Just let the breath flow slowly, naturally. Feel and notice. Begin to unwind from that supine twist. Switch out the legs. Right hand reaches for the left knee. We guide it across the body, rolling into that supine twist. Notice that I didn't cue placement of the neck. It's very common for people to turn their gaze toward the left hand, but that can be a lot of twist in that super sensitive spot of the body. So you do what's best for your neck in this moment. And then roll onto the back again. We'll have both the knees in toward the chest. And this time we're going to slide our hands underneath the kneecap. So you're holding onto the backs of your legs. We took a little side to side rolling. Now we're going to go crown of the head to the tailbone. Kind of roll up. Feel free to take it, gather a little bit of movement, momentum. I like to take my legs past my head. Kind of smile while you do this. This one's fun, right? And then make your way onto your back. You might be like, no, it's not fun, Catherine. I want it to be fun because the next one is the challenging one. When I was teaching this Wednesday, Nancy was like, I'm so glad you didn't teach Navasana. She goes, I hate that pose. And I'm like, I love it. So in Navasana, that's both pose. I want to feel my bum rooted to the mat. And I'm going to take my arms, just hover them to the outsides of your legs. So they're not actually touching the ground and they're not touching my legs. They're just hovering there. I like to go ahead and flex the feet, but that might not be comfortable for you. As you exhale, press into the bum, lift the back and the legs. So you're coming into like this funky little hollowed out boat pose. Yes. And then lower back down. This one, of course, is optional. Exhale and lift. Oftentimes people bend the knees. That's a great variation. Use the inhalation to lower. 2 more, please, if you're moving with me. And then lower completely. Take a full body stretch there. Maybe reach through one arm and then reach through the other. Beautiful. Excellent. I'm going to add a couple of things that are not actually part of the series, but I really love exploring it. Soles of the feet to the ground, knees to the sky, returning to that base pose. And then I want you to slide your feet further away from your bum. Maybe it's 1 footstep, maybe it's 2 footsteps. Take the hands and just press the palms down to the mat alongside the hips. We're going to move into a bridge pose. So press into the feet, curl the tailbone up and lift the hips from the ground. And then lower the spine, the waist, the top of the hips, all the way down to the tailbone. Take another one here and begin to notice, can you press equally through the left and the right side? Or do you come up kind of wiggly wobbly through the hips? We'll take 2 more. Concentrate on being as stable as possible through the hips. And then lower down. We'll take the knees out wide, returning to that Baddha Konasana, supine butterfly, soles of the feet together. If it's comfortable in the arms, take a little double bind. So bend the elbows, maybe stack the hands and place them just back behind your head. If they don't come comfortably to the mat, you can always slide a blanket underneath your hand. Take a good 4 breaths there. If the arms are overhead, release them. Maybe they come around and help lift the legs. I like to roll the soles of my feet to the mat. We're going to take our pinky toes to the outer edges of the mat and allow the knees to come in toward one another. Little knock-kneed mountain pose. Sometimes it's referred to as a broken bridge pose. You're welcome to stay here in this knock-kneed mountain pose, or you can make your way all the way into Shavasana if you'd like. Shavasana is just lying on your back. Conventionally, it's taught legs apart, heels reaching to the corners of the mat. There's a spaciousness across the chest. I'm going to come through the studio and turn the overhead lights off so they're not all shining in your eyes. Invite a soft swallow. Notice how its throat softens, the throat, the esophagus. Maybe there's a parting of the lips, a little relaxing through the jaw, through the mouth. Soften through the cheeks, across the forehead. Knowing that you can always close the eyes a bit, letting them be heavy in the sockets. This space is to encourage the body to memorize the feelings, to memorize the movement, to restore.